when you're done printing, as your prints are washing, make sure that you take care of your enlarger station. Particularly for this project, I'm hoping you didn't put anything that was greasy or gross up in there that got on the enlarger, but double check just in case. I mean, in the end, we can clean off whatever it is, probably, if you're reasonably careful. So just really make sure everything's safe up there. Ideally, we're not touching this with wet hands of any sort. Don't forget to replace your filters where they belong in the pack. It just is so much nicer for your classmates when they come in to look that, you know, if they don't have to hunt around and they're every which way. It saves y'all a lot of money to have these things here. If I had you each have to buy a pack, that's another like $30 on your lab fees that you just don't need to be spending. So if we all treat them well, they'll last, they'll be great. So no wet hands when you're handling the filters, because whatever genius designed these filters designed them with water-soluble dye for use in a darkroom. Really? Thanks, Ilford. But it's okay to handle them by the corners because the light never goes through the corners, it only goes in the middle. So keep your hands dry, handle them by the corners, don't put them on a surface that's easily going to scratch them, and keep them in order in that little guy. Your easel, just make sure it's squared off where it's not going to get knocked down. As far as getting the dust cover back on the enlarger, that is most easily done if you lower it. But remember, if you turn that switch on to lower it, that means the light's on. So do not forget, my last habit before I put the dust cover on is always to cup my hand under the light, and if there's light, go, oh, whoops, and turn it off, okay? So now, as far as the dust covers, it does not have to go up over that whole frame, okay? That is way too tall for most of us mortal humans. So by lowering it, you just have to get it over the lamp house, and now we're good to go. So that, everything's picked up. Each enlarger station should have a negative carrier. I forgot to show you this earlier, but we do have these little flashlights with a red filter in there for finding things like the aperture when you're setting them. So make sure that's shut off and hung up. And, you know, you should have one of everything at each of the enlarger stations. As far as the rest of the stuff, your chemistry should all be covered, right, so that oxygen can't get to it. Working our way along here, these fans, way up there, these guys, when you turn them on, it's the lit, or the glow-in-the-dark tape is pointing to the button you're supposed to use. To turn this one off, this guy's had sort of a hard life, so you have to sort of stair-step it, right? Go from low to high, and then when you're turning it off, it's the same thing. So off is the red button. Do that with both of them. You got another one down here. And so then over here, our washer, I'm seeing, has finished up. And so I'm going to turn that off. Notice it's getting quieter and quieter in our little darkroom world. Remember, don't just use the first filthy little tray that you come to when you're taking your prints out. Because what's been happening with all those trays? People have been using them to look at their prints, and they've been scooping them right out of the holding bath, right? So that's not very clean. So we have this conveniently located hose, and the beauty of these trays is as long as you keep them reasonably rinsed, they'll get rid of their extra chemistry pretty easily. So this is all good. And I can fish my prints out. I washed one of my test strips for the sake of illustration, and now it is way down in the bottom of the print washer. If you guys really, really are attached to your test strips and you want to keep them, I'm not going to judge. When I was first in photo, I wanted to keep everything that I had, and I used them as little bookmarks. I cut them up, I made art postcards, all kinds of things. But if you put it in the print washer, please you should be the person to take it out. If it dries in here, the emulsion's going to stick to one of these little dividers and make a real mess. So it's okay to wash it, but you are responsible for taking it out. These little dividers, you'll see they have slots that they go back down into. It can be a little sticky, but if you just have some patience and keep them going evenly, they'll go back in. There we go. So the washer, drain hose down, water off, and you're good to go. That's all you have to do with the washer. Now, you can still hear something, can you? Well, the drain. But, yes, your safe lights. Don't forget to turn off the safe lights. Now there's no fan. There's only the sound of the water trickling down the drain. Everything's good. My enlarger's covered. It's all nice. Now it's okay to go away with your prints and go squeegee them.